Welcome back to the Budget Gamer channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at Dokuro for the Nintendo Switch. But let me start off by saying, even if you are interested in trying this game, you may be interested in trying it for a different platform. This is definitely a unique indie puzzle platformer, but a lot of its charm does rest in its graphics. Its overall story, though, is just about as quirky as its characters, with the main premise being that one of the skeletal minions for some dark overlord kind of had enough just being a servant. So he's taken it upon himself to rescue and escort the newly captured princess out of the dark domain. The castle, being the main area for gameplay, is divided up into several different uniquely themed partitions, each having 10 different puzzle areas. Similarly to the old PS2 game Ico, it is your duty as this skeletal minion to escort a blind and otherwise helpless princess through these puzzles, traps, and mazes. And though it may be incredibly simple for you to platform your way to the end of each section, it's this consideration of the otherwise helpless princess that really make the puzzles that much more difficult. Though boss fights in Dokuro do come around fairly often, they don't come around at the end of each level's 10 puzzles. But just about every time a game actually changes theme, which is nearly every other level. Like many other puzzle games and puzzle platformers, the bosses in Dokuro also have that general 3-hit style. And though as a unique feature you actually can wail on them and do some damage, unless you figure out what that really weak point in their armor is, random melee combat will take you much longer. The bosses, though, aren't really that much more difficult than the preceding puzzle levels, and in some cases are actually a bit easier. So as soon as you do identify that critical tell for what their damage point is, it's pretty easy just to walk all over them. And being that Dokuro is pretty much an even split between puzzler and platformer, that level of difficulty for the bosses is very well suited. The actual gameplay, though, is pretty much a lather, rinse, repeat as far as the puzzles are concerned, except for that every few levels you uncover a new item which allows a new puzzling element. 90% of the gameplay is going to be restricted to platform jumping, smashing pressure plates, or flipping toggles. The difficulty only increases with the number and types of enemies, as well as the integration of chalk. I'm not really sure why chalk was integrated, but it does create a pretty unique game dynamic. Dokuro can use white chalk to draw chords and connect items together, and red chalk to make use of any local fire. These afford him the ability to move and swing boulders, as well as light torches, use explosive barrels and cannons. And the further that you get into the actual gameplay, the more critical the mastery of these skills becomes. The other main game element is Dokuro's transformation, changing him from a tiny skeletal minion to a suave, swashbuckling prince. And besides this princely character's ability to use his sword to cut ropes and skewer certain mobs, the real puzzling gameplay dynamic here is the ability to pick up and carry the princess. Though even in this stronger princely form, he's unable to jump while carrying her, so you are just as limited in your ability to solve puzzles. Additional items such as collectible coins are strewn throughout pretty much every single map, with one in each level. Though it does seem that these coins are pretty much only useful to the collector in unlocking achievements. One of the largest complaints I'd ever heard about Dokuro was in regards to its controls, and this was pretty much just from Steam users. The inability for them to remap their keyboards really did hurt gameplay. But thankfully this version on the Switch has a very intuitive control setup. No key combinations are really too difficult to figure out, and overall it does feel pretty organic. Though I would warn you, because this game was designed for iOS, there's a soft key overlay on the screen. This is a default screen overlay that covers up a lot of the graphics and imagery, but you can turn it off by hitting the select button on a Pro Controller or the little minus on your Joy-Cons. It took me a little while to figure that out, but I'm really happy that I did, because honestly that overlay was a little frustrating. Overall, I'd have to say that Dokuro is a really good puzzle platformer. The controls are pretty intuitive, it is very unique, the visuals are just charming, and the music is really well suited to the quirky environment. But being that this was released for nearly $10 on the Switch, and you can get it for 99 cents on your phone or $1.99 on Steam, I'd have to say that it's just a good puzzle platformer. Maybe if I couldn't get it for almost 90% cheaper on my phone, I'd say it's a great puzzle platformer, but because of that massive price difference, it can leave you feeling a little bit salty. But if this game is up your alley, or it's just a type of game that you really enjoy, it is going to provide you between 6 and 8 hours of puzzle platforming gaming. But anyway, that about wraps up the review of Dokuro on its debut to the Switch. So if you enjoyed the review or found it helpful, feel free to throw me a like or a comment to show your support. And don't forget to click that little bell icon when you subscribe to stay updated with the latest content. These videos are coming out all the time, so there's always going to be some new indie to discover. But anyway, this has been Budget Gamer, so as always, thanks for watching.